political reactions also on that big story. Haryana Minister backing justice for women, Anil Vij, saying free women from the shackles of hijab. That's the reaction coming in from the Haryana Minister, saying it's time to free the women from the shackles of hijab. When the statement or an argument is made on choice, political leaders have also made a comparison to what's happening in Iran. Aishwarya, the political significance of it, this is exactly what we were talking about. The fact that this is going to have a significance across the country. The Haryana Minister now saying it's time to free the women from the shackles of hijab.
Well, that's right. Anil Vij, Haryana Minister, tweeted it out, and he clearly has stated that it is a time for all the women in the country to free them as far as the shackling of hijab is concerned and wearing. He categorically mentioned in his tweet, and I can quote him. He said that जिन पुरुषों को महिलाओं को देखकर मन मचलता था, उन्होंने ही महिलाओं को हिजाब डालने के लिए मजबूर किया. आवश्यकता तो अपने मन को मजबूत करने की थी, परंतु सजा महिलाओं को दी गई. उनको सर से लेकर पांव तक ढक दिया गया. यह सरासर नाइंसाफी है. पुरुष अपना मन मजबूत करें और महिलाओं को हिजाब से मुक्ति दें. So that's what the reaction coming in from Anil Vij, Haryana Minister, over the entire controversy and the debate which has been going on in hijab, and clearly stating that this is a time that now each and every woman of this country should be free of such shackles of hijab.
Okay, all right. Let me also go across Deepak Bopana, who is in Udupi. Like we mentioned, that was the epicenter of the protest that took place. So in the arguments in the Supreme Court, it was about uniformity, and in the hearing, the Supreme Court had also said that now if you say it's a right to dress, there could be a right to undress as well. So in the kind of statements that had been made by the Supreme Court hinting at a split verdict that could be coming in from the top court, but for the students there in Udupi anxiously awaiting that verdict. For the people across the country, Deepak, it's also about the right of women, like the minister has just said, breaking the shackles that have been put on women with the hijab.
Absolutely, Pratibha. A lot of aspects to really consider here. And like you were mentioning, even before the High Court of Karnataka took this matter up, there was an order by the state government saying that any sort of religious item should not be worn inside the campus. Then, of course, came the matter in the High Court, which, we saw multiple days of hearing that took place, like what we saw in the Supreme Court. Various aspects were delved upon. There, two important aspects were mentioned, that hijab is not an essential religious practice. They also did mention that as far as freedom of the religion is concerned, now there are reasonable restrictions that could be exercised there as well. Both of these, of course, has been challenged in the Supreme Court and questioned. But while, of course, the Supreme Court today is going to deliver its judgment, if you take a look at, the cause list as well, the two judges individually are going to read out orders, whether it is going to be in concurrence or whether it's going to be a split verdict, or if they're going to refer it to a larger constitutional bench. That's also a very high possibility. If, both the judges here do not have, one verdict, or, are not in sync what they believe should happen. So they could definitely suggest this matter to a larger constitutional bench, considering it is, of course, the gravity is quite big in this particular issue. But as far as in the district of Udupi is concerned, at this point in time, as I stand outside the epicenter of the place, or rather the campus where the hijab controversy broke out, right now the police, of course, moving in and out. There are a couple of policemen who've been stationed from early this morning. Students, of course, because there is a holiday that is in place, nobody inside the campus. But overall, the situation is pretty calm compared to what we saw in Udupi, maybe in the month of February or March, or even in some other districts in Karnataka, probably like, Bagalkot, Haveri, Shimoga, where there were protests that took place, and some of them, of course, did turn violent even. And, there was also the issue of involvement of fringe elements on both the sides, and fringe elements on the side supporting hijab. Today, we are even seeing organizations at the campus front, which, we had, of course, established that they were quite actively involved in supporting the students wearing the hijab. Today is a banned organization.
Absolutely.
We have also seen students come in wearing saffron shawls inside the campus. and we saw some organizations back them as well. So a lot of people who are going to be very closely monitoring what's going to happen at the Supreme Court. Just minutes to go. We'll of course be bringing minute-to-minute updates about what's happening in the Supreme Court as people eagerly watch on as to what the Apex Court has to say about one of the most talked about issues in this year.